So, I finally got myself one of these. And I love it, because it's how simple it is. And this is the most genius idea that has hardly ever sold. Yeah. So basically, this Bendix little compact washing machine is a fully automated automatic washing machine. It's ingeniously simple, and unlike other washing machines, when you're done, you can just lift it up and put it away. Or you can even just roll it away. But more on those rollers in a minute. So this tiny little washing machine, compared to our full-size machine, is just 64 centimetres tall, 45 centimetres wide, and about 44 to 45 centimetres back to front. The back does overhang a bit, and of course we've got the dials as well, so you're looking about 45. So it's tiny, and you can put it anywhere. So let's take a look at ingeniosity then around the back. So here's ingeniosity continuing. It's amazingly simple. We have our drain hose here, which comes out of the machine, and when it's being stored away, you just simply wrap it round this clip here, around like so, and you can come round, up and round like this, and it ends about here. The wire wraps round these three prongs when not in use. So it's amazingly versatile just to store. And of course the inlet hose, if you want to, you could either leave it attached to the sink, I suppose, but if you take it off, you could just store it in a drum when it's not in use. And this is a cool little thing. You can bring out the washing machine when you need it, and then put it away when you don't. And then there's the controls, which are amazingly simple. We have a temperature dial on the right that goes between 20 degrees all the way up to 95 degrees. And we have basically just 5 programs. There is 7 listed, but that's all we're doing. We've got 5 programs. And even then, the timer is amazingly simple. So before I show you the actual programs and the dial, I'll just explain something. We've got a 2.5 kilogram, 5 pound wash capacity drum. It isn't much, but it does the job for basically a single person. However, in use, I did find it compared to other compact washing machines, because I have got others, that it can't take a full king-size duvet set all at the same time. Basically, you would have to wash the sheets and pillowcases first, and then the king-size sheets afterwards. Probably the same with a double as well. But anyway, if I turn the drum, you will hear a tick. And you will hear that tick throughout the entire cycle. And basically what this is doing is that this is advancing a timer. This timer is amazingly simple. I'm going to just switch it off, because there's no on-off switch as such. Just a stop sector on the dial. So basically we've got 5 programs, and you push it in and you turn it to where you want, and then you release and it will start. So it does say important push in before turning, and this is because it runs on a cog system. So if you turn it whilst it's like this, you're going to end up breaking it. So it is important you turn it, but the good thing is you can turn it actually backwards as well. That's the weird thing about it, because you're actually completely disengaging the whole thing. Anyway, we've got program 1, which is actually just a long wash, 2, which is synthetics, which is basically a short wash, and 3, which is woolens, which is just a really short wash, really. Then we've got about 5 rinses from here to here, and then we've got final spin, which, if you notice, is the entire half of the timer. And that's because, like I said, every click advances the timer. So during washing, it washes at about 55 RPM, which takes it at 1/10 of the speed of the final spin. Because at final spin, it will spin at 550 RPM, which isn't fast, but amazingly manages to crease up the whole lot of the washing. That also being said, if you don't want a final spin, just click that and it will drain after the final rinse. Go to click as if to go to spin and it will just completely stop the timer. So there you go. And then what you can do is basically switch it on for 30 seconds and switch it back off again if you wanted to. So essentially this is like a bit of like an on-off switch on the spin sector. But other than that, during the normal washing stage, it doesn't do anything else. The other thing as well is that it actually washes, despite this being fairly old, it washes at quite a low level. In fact, even washing on normal wash stage, even if it's on wool, it only washes with, say, about that much water. Literally like 2 litres of water. Also, there's no detergent compartment. Well, not on this model anyway. So it fills directly, actually, here. Literally. There's a nozzle right there that comes straight down the door. So it's keeping the door clean the entire time when it fills up with water, which is a pretty neat idea, to be honest, and it allows easier access for when things go wrong. That also being said, when things go wrong, there's easy access. Honestly, it's this simple. So the top lid's a bit weird because you've got 2 screws here, 2 screws the other side. This kind of isn't actually attached to this bit. So you just sort of lift that bit off, then you lift that off. But the back, let me just show you. Also at the bottom here we've got a filter, which is a bit tricky actually. It's amazingly simple in design, just tricky. So all we need to access all panels is literally just a Phillips head screwdriver, like so. We just need to undo these 2 screws at the side, 2 screws on the other side, and we can take the top off. So I'm actually just going to lift this back and sort of lean it like so. So you can take this whole lid off just by disconnecting the earth, but that means getting the earth back on. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. And then we can just see actually inside what's going on. Right, so the spin switch is just a simple micro switch. The door itself, so to actually start the machine, there's a micro switch on this side of the door. So that will actually start the timer. And then here, believe it or not, there, with our release, that's actually a door lock, and it's a 2-minute delay as well. Well, I say 2-minute delay. It's 2-minute delay at the end of the cycle, but if you switch the power off, you can get out pretty much straight away. So here we go. So this is our shaft to the timer at the back, and if you notice, we've got. So what we're doing, look, is completely pulling it away. There we go, like so. So it looks like, so that's 1, that's then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then we've got rinses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's sort of nothing there, and then out. So what tends to happen is there seems to be something to do with the draining, And then the other is just basically a timer. We've got two capacitors here. We've got a wash capacitor and a spin capacitor. And then that's about it. And then we've got our inlet here, which is screwed on. There is oddly enough a third point on this inlet, which is a bit weird because the mill only have two anyway. And that just literally clips onto here to go into the machine. Right, let's take off the back then. Also, we've got this foam over the drum. Now, oddly enough, the drum is completely solid. There is no suspension. So after getting myself a cup of tea, I've decided to bring you round to the back of the machine and under the back as well. It's amazingly simple. There is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I suppose 6 screws to undo. Oh, apart from that one, the rest are pretty easy to do. Yeah, I do though. And then, we've just got this to go through. So this is a vent hose at the back, and this is a vent hose as well, which is a bit weird. That is literally just a case of pushing through. Ta-da! Aha! Right, so, like I said, there is no suspension. No, really, there is no suspension. That's it, we've got a motor, and we've got a pump, which is an electronic pump. Oddly enough, it isn't magnetised. We've got a I'll sump right at the front, down there, and that's it. What I want to know is why we've got a leak. Oh, we're at it. So the machine has a tiny, tiny leak, and I'm not entirely sure why. It looks like the leak is coming from the pump housing. But other than that, it's livable with. Honestly, I put a towel underneath, and it's completely fine. Right, other things, we've got 1, 2, and then 2 at the front of these rollers, and they're rolling sideways rather than back to front. There's a good reason for this. It's all to do with how this machine works. So, if we look at how this machine over here, this is the important bit. So, right, we've got this. And what that is a little metronome. Side to side, side to side, side to side. So, because there's no balancing whatsoever, it uses these rollers. And the machine will... So, there's no suspension, and the tub's fixed in place. Essentially, it's a bit like running a washing machine with the transport bolts still in. So it has these rollers, so when the machine starts to spin, it will go back and forth on the rollers, like that. And as it's doing that, this will shake. Now, if it's basically very balanced, this will hardly shake. and it will allow it to spin. But if it decides to shake too much, it will trip this micro switch and tell it to not spin. What it does is essentially the machine runs with the same spin, the same wash pattern the entire time. So it rotates about 45 seconds one way and 15 seconds the other way. So every time it does that, it will tell it to go back down to wash, and as that's then slowing back down to still, when that goes still, it will tell it to spin. And then when it shakes, it will tell it to go back down to wash. If it shakes a little bit, but not enough to trigger it, it's a balanced spin. And that's the thing you got to remember, you know. I don't really understand why we've got two vent pipes. One there and one there. It seems weird. Also, the other thing is, if you notice, is how this works. So I'm just going to turn this gingerly. Don't do this at home, ever. Including taking this apart, unless you actually know what you're actually doing. But anyway, so this is how the timer works. Now this rod here is connected to the timer, and we've got this here. So watch what happens. Even when I turn it the opposite way round, it will still advance it the same way. Then further down here we've got a heater, which is massive for the machine. In fact, it is 2,000 watts heater. And we've also got our pressure vessel here. Where's our thermostat? Oh, and the thermostat is actually underneath. Now, I'm going to put this all back together. And I'll show you how to actually use it. Right, so before I actually start this, I've wrestled trying to get this back on, and it just won't go back on. Annoyingly. For some bizarre reason. Anyway. Right. So I'm going to demonstrate a load of washing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to pour in some liquid detergent. Probably in the cap as well. So when it comes to washing, we only want to wash about 2 kilo anyway, so we don't want much detergent. And we've got one t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and top. So all detergent goes straight in the drum, even if it's powder, because there's no detergent compartment. There's no fabric softener either, unfortunately. Although you could just get around this by pressing no spin, I suppose, setting it to rinse with some fabric softener inside. Because actually, if you set it to 5, so hold on. So I'm going to set it to 40. I'm going to set it to 2, and then we're going to switch it on. We're going to switch spin on. Very close. It actually balanced first time, which is unusual. So, while we're on the spin, where you see how the machine rocks side to side slightly? This is because obviously of its rubber rolls. It's just not... There we go. So now this machine's actually decided that it's now out of balance. So I'm just going to demonstrate to you what it actually does, because it's not very clear. So I'm just going to stop the machine. Hopefully now it can demonstrate you a bit more clearly what it does when it tries to balance. So at this point, the machine kind of sounds a little bit broken because you can hear a tapping noise. That tapping noise is the little gear in the back that advances the timer, but it's now ticking at 10 times the speed as normal. Well, the thing is, at 550 RPM, they're actually quite creased. And still quite wet. even for 550 RPM. Smell nice. And they will actually clean stuff. And very quick. Obviously I interrupted the cycle to adjust the spin. And obviously the thing is, the quicker it actually gets to spin balanced, the faster the cycle will finish. Because obviously when it's tumbling about and not really spinning, it's taking longer. The timer will always end, but it will just take longer. So the actual cycle times for program 1 for example, is 55 minutes, but can take up to 70 if its balancing is taking too long. Or even if it doesn't balance. You see, you always still get to the end of the timer. So sometimes the machine can actually complete the entire cycle without really spinning the load, which actually has happened with me. Program 2 is around 40-ish minutes long, and program 3 I reckon is about 25 minutes long. So there is a bit of a difference in the wash program times. And if you select no spin, obviously you can save another about 6 minutes on that time. So there you go, there's a rough idea of times. But you're looking at under an hour a wash every single time. It's amazing. It's brilliant, I think. Obviously, you know, 2 t-shirts, a top and a pair of jeans and the machine's practically full. So you'll be probably washing every single day in it, even for a single person today, or maybe every other day for a single person. For a family, this is going to be annoying. So it will be on all the time. That being said, it is pretty bulletproof in terms of build quality. Because it's so simple, there's just not really anything to go wrong. As long as you look after it. As long as you turn the timer correctly. You know, stuff like that. It's brilliant. Right, so this little machine's going to get 8 out of 10. Okay, the wash results, the spin results is a little... yeah. But because it's so uniquely designed, it's pretty good. That also being said, it isn't as good as obviously a Candy Compact or a Zanussi Compact. But that also being said, I've not had the closest Candy Compact I've had this age. The Zanussi Compact doesn't exist this age because it's much later on. And the Candy Compacts of this age are probably about the same, to be honest. Again, they only spin about 550 RPM as well, so there we go. Right, so there we go. What have we learned today? Well, the unique design is an actually ingenious design that's not really flawed, actually. There's no real flaws in design or use. In fact, you can get these machines with a detergent dispenser and the temperature dial is just moved to over here. And that's it. And you get a little detergent dispenser, and you can even have I think there's a pre-wash option on some of these machines, where the time is basically sort of geared up to be even longer, basically. How cool is that? The only gripes I have with this machine is the wool cycle, because the wool cycle only uses a low water level and still tumbles at the same rate. It is only made for putting one item in. I think it's maximum 0.5 kilograms, so it's like one jumper. But even so, it's just too vigorous and the water level's too low. For me, I would like it so there was a button so you could switch the water level to a higher water level. That could have been simply done. And the other thing is, of course, with this, obviously there's no fabric softener. So what could have been ideal is after the 4th rinse, drain and switch off when this button is down. And then you could have just flicked it on after you put detergent in, put the fabric softener in, flip the button on and it continues. Or you could have even just kept the button down and then that's end the cycle. How cool is that? But no, they didn't do that, and I think they missed a trick there. But other than that, the actual terms of build quality, brilliant. Except getting this top panel back on, which for some reason now decided to not fit again. I love the little styling of the drum actually. The drum is very much alike an IPSO washing machine. That's the industrial machines. Cool, there we go. Right. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't done already. Cheers for watching and I'll see you again soon.